Hello and welcome to the Evercade Retreat. Gene Joke here, and today I'm doing a first impressions of the Atari Arcade Collection 2. Now this is a collection that I wasn't overly excited about. I have no nostalgia for these games. I've only ever played a couple of them in the past, those being Fire Truck and Rescue, and even that was vague memories and I barely remember playing them. I know many people have been excited for this collection, but it's one that really did nothing for me. My thoughts is it basically boils down to a bunch of older arcade games I've never heard of, so they're probably not that good. Not to mention, generally I do prefer games to have a bit more meat on their bones than simpler older arcade games. Of course there are exceptions to that, so the question is, for me, did any of these games I've never heard of or never really played before, can they rival or even surpass the classics like Pac-Man, Asteroids, Centipede and so on and so forth? I've spent a little bit of time with each game, so I'm going to go through them as I would my normal ranking videos, and I will rank them in order of preference. But of course this is from a first impression, this isn't in depth, and who knows, maybe my opinions will change.
Number 10.
Is Fire Truck. You control a fire truck, racing to get to a fire to put it out, I guess. The mechanic basically comes down to controlling the engine or the cab of your fire truck and contending with the weight of the trailer while heading towards it. There are different directions to go through and it's very challenging. The arcade original I understand was quite challenging anyway. The controls on Evercade are very sensitive. It's definitely hard to get started with. So this is low because I absolutely suck at it, as you can see from this gameplay. Is there fun to be had here? I'm not sure.
Number 9.
Is Dark Planet. Now this is another one that definitely needs a lot more time to get to grips with. I've barely really started scraping the surface of this one, and I can see what they're going for. Single screen space shooter with a bit of strategy. You have two layers of which to go on. You have to go up to the upper left of the screen. There's a bit where you can transport to the lower level. From the upper level you can do airstrikes down on the enemies on the lower levels and shoot out other aircraft. On the lower level, well, you can attack on that level. It really wasn't clear where I had to go to descend to the lower level, or even, I don't even know how I'd get back up. Maybe I'd go back to the same place. I haven't figured it out. I've figured out a few bits and I die horribly and generally suck at the game. I have been assured there is quite an interesting game here and I can see the potential, but is it fun? Well, I haven't found any fun in it yet.
Number 8.
Is Moon War, and I suppose I could best describe this as Asteroids with a hint of Defender. This one I think is going to take some practice. The basic gameplay is, well, straightforward enough as far as I can tell, but I'd say I just found it quite cumbersome. Maybe it's a skill issue and I just need to practice more and get better, but at the moment it is one I rank lower.
Number 7.
Is Lost Tomb. This is a multi-directional shooter where you're raiding a pyramid, getting keys, getting treasure and shooting enemies. It's very frantic, maybe too much so, which is why it's ranked lower. It just feels a bit too intense, especially early on. I say too intense, it just seems a little bit too much going on, trying to read the rooms and things. There is a bit of variety to it and I like what it's going for, but as yet it hasn't quite grabbed me. This might be the only game on the collection where you continue from where you left off, which is probably needed given the intensity of the gameplay and the size, the amount of levels. There seems to be quite a few, and yeah, I died lots, sometimes really quickly on a screen by not noticing things. It's very tough and it could be a lot of fun once I get better at it. Maybe.
Number 6.
Is Rescue. Control your helicopter and rescue falling paratroopers from the water, but don't try and rescue them while they're falling, because your rotor blades will dismember them. Of course it's not that simple. There are other helicopters and sharks and things to, make things a bit more challenging. Helicopter can shoot in multiple directions, and also you have to make sure you don't, crash into the water while you're trying to rescue these paratroopers. Once you've got enough for the level, you then go to an island and get the rescued paratroopers to safety. It's a very simple concept like many of these games, and it's quite fun. The biggest issue I have with it is the size of the enemy bullets. They're tiny and hard to see, that's even on a large screen. Even so, it's quite a fun little game. I'd prefer the others here. I think it's safe to say that everything from here onwards, including Rescue, I would generally consider a good, fun, straightforward arcade game.
Number 5.
Is Tasmania, which is a single screen arena shooter and nothing to do with the Tasmanian devil from the cartoons, disappointingly. But it makes up for it with some fast, frantic fun. The walls are closing in, you essentially have to take out all the enemies and escape the level before you get squished. It's a multi-directional shooter, but unfortunately this one doesn't have twin stick controls. You have to point in a direction, and I think that's what holds it back a little bit in my opinion. Again, as I play it more I might take to it more. I know some people do rate this as their favourite game on the collection.
Number 4.
is Berserk. Again, it's a top-down multi-directional shoot-'em-up where you run around, shoot the various robots while they screech at you, sometimes with some funny lines, and kill as many you can on the screen before leaving, before an evil emoji comes and kills you. It's a very simple game with some impressive for the time speech, and there's some quite funny lines in there too. To be perfectly honest, I have heard a lot about this game, but I've never played it. People have raved about it, and to be perfectly honest, it looks overly simple for my liking. And, well, it is very simple, but it's also very compelling to just, well, improve your score and get a little bit further. To clear the screen of enemies before the emoji of death comes for you.
Number 3.
Is Minefield. It's a side-scrolling multi-directional shooter where you control a tank, avoiding mines, collecting missiles, shooting the aircraft, and launching missiles at enemy bases. Now admittedly, this does suffer the same problem that Rescue does, with the enemy bullets being really tiny, and it takes a few goes to be able to read the screen of the various threats and things you have to avoid, but once you get there it does start becoming a lot of fun. I suspect others might rank this a little bit lower, but I say I had a lot of fun with it, and whether it stays that way as I play more and get more into the game, I don't know. But for an early impression, yeah, this one, like I said, I found it a lot of fun.
Number 2.
Is Maze Invaders. This is another one that'll take you a few moments to really get the gist of. Navigating the maze, collecting the fruit, shooting the enemies, fairly straightforward stuff. It kind of feels like a mashup of Pac-Man and Robotron. And hey, that's not a bad thing. It's a fun pick up and play game, so yeah, can't knock it really.
Number 1.
Process of elimination already tells you this is Frenzy, the sequel to Berserk. It's essentially more of the same but with added features, and I think these really enhance the gameplay. There seem to be more enemies early on, walls you can shoot through, walls that will ricochet your shots back at you. It does what a good sequel should do, take the core concepts and expand on them to increase the fun. This is the game that I end up coming back to the most, just one more go. I can do better than that, which is exactly what a good arcade game should do. I think it's safe to say that my initial opinion is quite positive. While not everything hits the mark, there's a lot of good simple arcade fun here. While it's not a card that initially impressed me when it was announced, most of the games have won me over. And as I mentioned, the ones that haven't, I get the impression there could be some hidden depth there which might come out with further play. Time will tell, of course. Something else I'd like to mention is generally I only play with the Evercade standard controller. I don't own an arcade stick, I don't have the Alpha. And I'm fine with that for the most part. Most games I play absolutely fine on a control pad, and generally I don't feel any need to play with an arcade stick. In fact, I'd rather play a fighting game on a controller than with an arcade stick, but a few games on this collection made me think an arcade stick would be preferable. That's not a knock on this cart or how the controls are set up on the Evercade. I'd stick with those games, it would work better. It's something that's entirely possible to do on the Evercade, if you have an arcade stick or an Alpha. Maybe I'll invest in one day. Or both of those things. So overall I'd say it's a cart definitely worth picking up, well unless you have a problem with getting into early arcade games. If you find the graphics and gameplay too simplistic for your taste, maybe it won't be for you. But that is largely how I felt, and it won me over, so maybe it will win you over too. Who knows? Anyway, that's enough rambling for this video. I don't think I'll do a first impressions for the Tomb Raider Collection 2 because, well, it's essentially 2 more Tomb Raider games and you can't really give much for first impressions, well, unless you absolutely hate tank controls. I like the Tomb Raider games, I'm sure it'll be a fine collection, but I still need to beat Tomb Raider 3 before I get started on it. So, it's goodbye from me and I'll see you in the next video.